Namaste, namaste, and welcome to this short video practice. My students in class have been asking for a short practice of animal moves that we often use one or two of in class. So I've put together this video for you guys just with a few ideas in, and you can use them as you like. So with animal moves, it's quite important to be warmed up. So just taking time to make sure that you're feeling loose across the shoulders and the neck. And I like to, of course, do lots of Caddyshack wrestling when I'm warming up. So we will start with that just to make sure that we're in the mood. So feet nice and wide, a little soft in the knees, and a gentle twist from side to side, keeping that sense of lift in the center of the body, letting the arms loosely wrap around the body and tap wherever they fall. Your head can follow the movement, or if you prefer, you can keep it still, entirely up to you. As you become familiar with the movement, try to maintain that lift across the belly muscle. And then from here, we can add a little twist in the lower body, pivoting onto one toe and then the other. And if you want to, you can add a soft bend in the knees. And that really helps us to warm up those larger muscle groups in the lower body. Touching the opposite shoulder in front of you, or on the opposite side of the body behind you. Perhaps just giving yourself a little bit of extra thumping if you're happy to do that. And keeping that gentle lift across the belly muscles, the pelvic floor. And then we're going to work our way back to center, just losing the bounce, losing the pivot, and then make our shoulders and hips really still, and the head can stay centered, and then make the arms swinging more vigorous. So here we're using our core muscles to actively resist the movement of the body. So we get a little bit more movement across the center of the torso, a little bit more stability into the legs and then the center of the body. Just doing a few more of these to each side, and then just gently releasing the arms, coming back to center. As you come to center, stand tall. Feel the effect of your practice. Draw your chin towards your chest. Roll the right ear towards the right shoulder. And chin to chest, left ear to left shoulder. If neck rolling doesn't suit you, feel free to add a different kind of limbering for your neck here. If you're comfortable going side to side, you might like to explore some circular movements with the head. Thinking about lifting the chin up and over rather than taking the head back to complete that circle. We'll do one more in this direction before changing direction. And as you reverse, I'm usually guilty of going a little bit quick when I'm warming up. So just checking that the speed of your movement suits your body in this moment. And as your chin comes to your chest, this time smiling gently, returning to the upright position, and then rolling the shoulders a few times. And as we roll the shoulders, we can allow the arms to become more involved, perhaps even lengthening the arms, crossing the arms in front of the body, drawing the elbows back behind the body. Let's go the opposite way as well. Start small, just shoulders. And then elbows. And then arms. Lovely. Try and make nice smooth movements if you can. Try to avoid clunking if you can. Let's do one more. And then release. So we spend quite a lot of time on our hands during animal moves, particularly the crawling ones. So warming up the wrists is important. Interlace your fingers. Keep your elbows close to your body and just roll the wrists. It can be circles. I like to do figure of eights, just the way I roll. And then we can go the opposite way as well. I find it useful to stretch the opposite side of the wrist. So when you're ready, you can bring your palms together and just draw the fingers of the right hand back towards the body. And as you do that, we're trying to stop this right shoulder from lifting up. So we want enough sensation that it feels good, not too intense, enough that we can keep the shoulders nice and relaxed, and then gently lengthening and softening that right elbow. And the stretch should be on the inside of the wrist, or the inside of the arm, forearm, and we don't want it to be too intense. So just starting off through center into namaste, and then the opposite side. This side, which is really my right, but I always teach in the opposite way because it's how you see it on the screen. This wrist is a little bit sensitive today. So it's good to notice that as you practice. And try to work compassionately with it. So I won't be pushing things on this side today. And then coming back through the center, and we're going to roll the backs of the hands towards each other. The fingers can face down, and then just gently press the backs of the hands together as well. Might do a little bit of rotating here. Maybe rotating all the way one way, all the way the other, and then just shaking out. And that prepares our hands. I've already done my morning warm-up. So I've already done my finger exercises to make my hands feel awesome. I like to do that. Hey ho. So we will be doing quite a lot of stabilizing through our center, but it's useful to also move through the body. And we've done our shoulder rotations, but now a little standing cat-cow is also useful. So as you stand tall, taking the arms nice and wide, bringing the elbows towards each other, turning the backs of the hands towards each other, elbows to the knees, curling the whole body forward, scooping the belly in, chin to chest. And then as we open up and stand tall, we can take the elbows back, look up, lengthen the legs, and lift the belly muscles. So we're rounding forward, finding that length in the back of the body, scooping up and in, and then opening the front of the body and drawing the shoulder blades towards each other to engage the upper back. Rounding forward, opening up. You can move with your breath if you enjoy that process. Moving with our breath helps us to move steadily and smoothly. So it's a great way to make sure you're not going too fast and that your movement is supported by your body. Just finishing here. So if you are moving and you can't breathe in a nice, smooth, rhythmic way, means that your body is making too much effort for your breath and it's imbalanced. So it's a good indicator. Okay. So the first move that we're going to do is not really a move as such, but it's called elephant walking. And it's all about creating a sense of length in the back of the body. And we're going to use this move in combination with a deep squat after we've practiced it a little bit. So I've got 2 blocks ready. If you have great length in the back of your body, you might not need them. And if you really have stiffness in the back of the body, often people talk about their hamstrings, but usually it's across the whole posterior chain. So you might want something a little bit higher, like a stool or a chair, and work your way towards the floor. There's no need to get there all in one go. So to do elephant walks, I'm going to take my blocks and place them directly in front of my feet. So I make a little square. And then before a forward bend, it's always good to open up the front of the body. And actually what we're doing is engaging the back of the body so that when we lengthen those muscles, they are more likely to give us that length. So we'll take a deep breath in and open the front of the body. And then we'll fold forward, soften the knees, lengthening the tailbone back, and placing the hands down onto the blocks. Here we can lengthen our arms and also lengthen our torsos a little bit. So we're doing like a halfway forward bend, halfway lifted forward bend, if you like. Both knees nice and soft, and then we're going to lengthen one leg and then the other. As we do this, we get a little wiggle on of the hips. The hips can sway from side to side. And this movement is common across lots of the animal crawls, where in yoga and Pilates, sometimes we're trying to keep the center still to resist movement. But here we're letting the body move in a way that feels a little bit more natural, perhaps a little bit more flow. So as you do this elephant walking, we're trying to find a little bit of length down one side and then the other. You might feel that you can turn your blocks or come down a little bit lower on whatever support you're using. It's useful perhaps to allow the shoulders now to sway, a little turn of the head from side to side. You might even lift one foot and then the other, depending on how you feel. And we could again go a little bit lower, depending on how you feel, or even to the floor. And you'll notice I haven't got a mat today because we don't need one for animal moves. So once you feel that you've done enough elephant walking to feel really comfortable in the back of your body, you're going to widen the feet and turn the feet out and then sink the hips down. So at this point, you might want to bring some more support underneath the hands, sinking the hips down. Explore how deep you naturally go to. And then, so it doesn't really matter what that looks like, if it's higher up, or if it means that you have the heels off the floor a little bit, that's fine. But exploring how deep you go to and noticing that when you settle there, you switch off a lot of your muscular engagements. So what we want to do is come up a little so that we feel the power in the legs and we're very, very active. And then we're going to lift, turning the toes to face forward, finding a forward bend. Doesn't matter what that looks like. I really enjoy this process of pushing my body away from the floor, which is common in our animal moves. So it's a useful forward bend to come into. And then turning the toes out. Heels are slightly turned in, but the feet haven't gotten any narrower. We're just pivoting on the heels, sinking down to wherever feels like the right place, not too low. Just getting that sense of buoyancy, maybe a little wiggle from side to side or a sway of the hips, and then lifting the hips and turning the toes in, finding that forward bend, that lift. Let's do one more like that, turning the toes out, sinking the hips down, just doing a little movement in that position. Little swaying. And it's okay if the movement doesn't come naturally, then simply going up and down is fine too. And then lifting again to turn the toes in, find your forward bend, and then sinking into a deeper forward bend. For those who feel comfortable going that way, just letting the crown of the head find its way towards the floor, giving the legs a little bit of a swaying, maybe turning the head naturally from side to side. And then to come up, softening the knees, rounding through the spine, curling up to standing. As you come to standing, if you're dizzy, just stop here, hands at the center of the chest. And if you are not dizzy, breathing in to open the chest, glide the shoulder blades back and down, and finish with the arms at your side. Awesome sauce. So elephant walking, nice one to do, helps to find length in the back of the body. We can put our blocks now to one side and leave our space clear for doing some of our crawls. So the first thing that we can do is just a bear crawl. And different disciplines call this something different. So some people call this a cat crawl, some people call this a bear crawl. I'm going to show you two different ways to do it. In fact, several different ways to do it. And then you can decide what it's called is not important. But we're going to move to one side of our space so that we can move forward in the space. And here we come down into that sort of crouching position. We've got the heels lifted now, and we might take the hands forward so that we can find almost hands and knees, but the knees hover. If it's easier to come to hands and knees first and then hover your knees off the floor, you can. We're trying to keep the knees as close to the floor as possible, and we're lifting opposite hand and foot to move ourselves forward. And we want this to feel quite close to the ground, but also quite smooth and buoyant. We can sway a little from side to side. And when you get to the opposite end of your mat or your space, you can turn around and do the same thing in the other direction. So finding that hands and knees position, if it helps to start there and then lifting the knees, really engaging in your center, opposite hand and foot. Just being quite mindful of moving the opposite sides of the body at the same time and noticing the work. So when you've finished at that side, if you're not used to spending time close to the floor like this, you might like to stand up and just give your body a moment. You might like to sit down or do child's pose to give your body a moment. Take your weight off your hands and just roll the wrists. And this rolling of the wrists is helpful to release the effort of the practice across the wrists. Shake them out. So we've done bear crawl forwards and we've used opposite hands and legs. So we can come back to, these movements aren't necessarily really easy to do when you first start doing them. But bear crawling particularly is quite a natural movement for the body to do. So it tends to come very quickly with a little bit of practice. What we're looking for is something that looks graceful, natural, buoyant, easy, smooth. And so work on that until it is the case. Film yourself if you'd like to. We're going to do the same thing that we just did, but we're going to go forwards and then backwards. So backwards work is really useful as well. And we're going to start at one side of our space, find that hands and knees position, hover the knees just a little off the mat, and then crawling forwards, moving the body in any way. We have to use our core muscles strongly, but we can allow lots of turning or swaying as is naturally available. When you get to the opposite end of your space, going back the way. Back the way is a little bit more coordination. It's not necessarily harder, just takes a little bit more concentration. Very good. And then when you get to the other end again, pausing, taking the weight off the wrists, doing any nice movements for the hands. Lovely rolling. And then shaking out. So this is bear crawling with the knees close to the ground and opposite hands and legs. You can do this with the same hand and leg together. I believe it's actually called something like the anteater or something like that. I don't pay much attention to the names. I'm terrible with names. So you can try that if you'd like to. We can do that going in this direction. So starting with your hands and knees just hovering, and then same hand and knee. Different kind of coordination, same hand and knee. And this is good for practicing because some of the more advanced moves require same hand and leg to move at the same time. Lovely job. Forwards and backwards in your space. Give your wrists a rest. Just let them settle for a moment. So taking a breath, you'll notice that it's quite demanding to do these moves on the large muscle groups in the body. And that tends to mean that we have an increased oxygen demand. It lifts our breath rate and our heart rate a little bit. So good for you from that point of view as well. So bear crawling can be done close to the floor and also high. And some people call this like a down dog bear crawl or a dog crawl. So we come into that hands and knees position, but this time we're going to lift the knees nice and high. We want to create a sense of length down the backs of the legs and across the torso, really stabilized in the center, opposite hand and leg. Here, we're trying to keep a little bit of length in our limbs, in our torsos, as we go forwards, all the way to the other end of our space. Turn around, and then go forwards, all the way back to our beginning spot. Really nice sense of length, just letting the body shift and undulate as it will. Taking a rest when you're ready, hands off the floor so that you can soften the effort across the wrists. So this dog crawling, if you like, is again something that we can learn forwards and backwards. So let's do that one more time, but going up our space and then backwards down. So again, starting from hands and knees, hovering the knees and then lengthening the legs and the arms, opposite hand and leg as we walk forward, thinking about keeping the arms and the legs nice and long, finding some space across the back of the body, and then back the way. I find back the way harder in this because there's not as much softness in the legs because the legs are staying longer. But I'm sure it will come with time and practice. Very nice. Take your weight off your wrists, give them a shake or a little roll to release the effort. So slightly different to have the hips high. All of these are movements that are quite useful, hopefully. So I wanted to give us a little bit of a rest while we, from this sort of forwards and backwards motion where we're using the front and the back of the body, and do some sideways movements. And so this sometimes is called the gorilla, sometimes the monkey. So we're going to start in a little crouch position all the way to one side of our space. And that's the reason why we practiced our deep squats earlier. But here we're on the balls of the feet. So you can start with a little sway from side to side. You can have your hands supporting you on the floor. And then we're going to move sideways in our space by placing our hands down to the side of our body, in this case, the left side, and then lifting to shift the feet. Placing the hands to the left, shifting the feet. Hands to the left, shifting the feet, and we come all the way to the other side of our space. And then we're going in the opposite direction. Now, if you're learning this and it is not a familiar practice, you can put your hands to the right and then just shift your feet a little bit so you're back right in front of your hands. Place your hands down to the right, just shifting a little so you're back to square. Hands to the right, shifting a little. And then when you become a little bit more adept or a little bit more confident, you can put your hands to the right and then shift your feet to the right of your hands. So you make a much bigger movement. And we'll go up and down the mat of this space one more time. So as you do this, you actually get that point of holding your weight on your hands just as you lift your feet from the floor. So noticing that on this way back. So we are working a little bit on some of the skills we need for progressing into hand balances, handstands, those sorts of things. Really promotes upper body strength, which is good. You can hear in my voice, and I hope you can anyway, how demanding it is in terms of our energy. It's helpful if you don't have to talk while you're doing it. So rolling the wrists. And I really like gorilla moves or monkey moves because it's a really nice way to get around. It's a really nice way to move from A to B. If you're kneeling down on the floor, which I do quite often, and you need to get over there, then a gorilla move is quite the thing to do. Whew. So there are lots and lots of different animal moves, but we're just going to look at one or maybe two more today. One more for now. So we've worked a lot facing the floor, and now we're going to work facing the ceiling. So if you take your hands back behind you, they don't need to point in any particular direction. It's just wherever feels good. We've got our hands and feet on the floor. We're going to float the bottom off. Doesn't need to come high. And then we're walking opposite hands and legs. And this is called a crab crawl or spider crawl. Spinning on your bottom at the other side of your space, and then lifting just the hips again. Opposite hands and legs. I actually find this easier with the hips higher, but see how you go. So crab crawling, also quite a nice thing to do. Different demand across the arms, different demand across the chest. And of course, the back of the body is providing that support that the front of the body provides when we're doing things like bear crawl or cat crawl. So there is a way to put these two together as moves. And animal moves are often turned into animal flows, where we move the body close to the floor, but we move in all sorts of different directions. So first, let us just roll our wrists. And then we're going to take this crawling move. So hands, knees, float the knees off the floor. And we're going to turn it into a little twisting motion. So with your right hand and your left knee, just bringing the right hand and knee together, looking to the right, and then the same on the other side. Left hand and right knee together, looking to the left. So opposite hand and knee, but we're doing a little twist with it as well. And it's quite nice. We get a little different movement through the body. Again, quite demanding for the arm that's on the floor. Once you can easily touch your knee, you might touch your foot in front of you. Knee, foot, under the body. Knee, foot, under the body. Knee, foot, under the body. Taking a break whenever you need it. Softening off the wrists, giving them a massage or a little roll, if that feels good. And once we can do this step through or this twist to one side, we can actually rotate all the way into a crab and then rotate all the way back into a bear. So we take the hands and the feet, float the knees. We are going to turn to the right, lifting the right hand and the left foot, and then turn all the way onto our back so that we've got the hands and the feet back on the floor. And then we can go back to where we came. So we're lifting the right hand and the left foot and spinning all the way back to the center. Let's do that same side 2 or 3 times. So lifting the right hand and the left foot, coming into crab position, lifting the right hand and the left foot, coming back to crawl. Knees don't go to the floor. One more time. And release. And then the same thing on the other side. I'm just turning so it's easier to see. So little hands and knees float, lifting the left hand and the right foot, turning and coming into crab, lifting the left hand and right foot, turning back to crawl, turning to crab, turning to crawl, turning to crab, turning to crawl. Nice. And then just weight off the wrists. And even my wrists are getting tired now. So I think we'll probably leave it after our next exercise. Deep breath, releasing the wrists. And just knowing that all of this big effort that we're making is really good for our bodies. So moving our bodies in this more, perhaps more natural, animalistic way is supposed to build functional strength of our, not just our core, but the whole body. There's very few of these moves that don't involve the whole body. So let us turn that. We just used our step through to go from crawl to crab. Let's go all the way around, see if we can flip all the way over. So here we start with hands and knees, floating the knees off the floor. We're turning to the right, so we're lifting the right hand and the left foot through. And then to go the other way, we're going to lift the left hand and the right foot. Lift the right hand and the left foot, crab, left hand and right foot, forward. Right hand and left foot to crab, left hand and right foot to crawl. We've made 3 rotations. We're just facing the perfect place to go the other way. So it is good to work both directions because we tend to have one side of the body that's our dominant side, it's our stronger side, it's our leading side. So it's good to also work in the opposite direction. And actually, one of the advantages of teaching an opposite, which is what I do most of the time, is that my left side is my side that likes to lead, even though I'm right-handed. So just one of those interesting things to note. You don't have to note it about me, but notice it about you. So we start again from our crawl, floating the knees, and this time we're lifting the left hand and the right foot. And then lifting the right hand and the left foot. Lifting left hand and right foot, finding crab, right hand and left foot to find crawl, left hand and right foot to find crab, right hand and left foot to find crawl, and then resting. And I think this is a really good place to finish for today. So there are movements like the lizard crawl and the crow crawl that we could add perhaps in another video practice. But for today, that's enough. Massaging your wrists, making sure they feel good. Doesn't matter if they feel the effort of practice now. What we want to do is be able to move through the rest of our day without feeling that same effort, without carrying any discomfort from our practice. So sometimes it helps here to put the thumbs into the palms, wrap the fingers around, and then make nice slow circles of the wrists. And we feel that lovely sense of length and release across the back of the wrist, and then the opposite way as well. This is what I do anyway. And I like to share things that really, really work with you guys. And then shaking out, giving the shoulders a little shake. And taking a moment now to do some relaxation would be really useful. So I know that it's not everybody's easiest thing to do, but popping on a piece of music that you enjoy listening to, just resting on your back and allowing the whole body to soften down into the mat. We can do legs up the wall, or you can just spend some moments in quietness. Allow your body to find that sense of still after all of these glorious moves, and then you'll feel restored for the rest of your day. I hope you've enjoyed this practice. I hope you'll come back for another one. I'll see you soon. Namaste.